Hello and welcome to Splatter Matters, the place where, splatter matters. I'm Rick.
I'm Jackie.
And we're going to be talking about some gore and some horror today. How you doing today, Jackie?
I'm doing all right. How about you, Rick?
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
I can't complain. Things are going good. I just renewed my Shudder subscription, so I don't know why I got rid of it.
Yeah, that's my first point exactly. So good decisions.
Yes, I decided to renew, and I've just been getting a crazy horror fix.
Yeah. What are some movies that are standing out to you right now?
Well, it's funny you should ask. I just watched a really good one called Haunt.
Really?
Yeah, it's produced by Eli Roth. Not too familiar with the directors, but it's basically a slasher film that takes place inside a haunted house. And not like a ghost haunted house, but more like a fun house kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah, and I will tell you, there's a lot of nice imagery.
When was it made?
It was made, I don't know, it came out this year, I think.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Kind of a new release. It's
Shudder, though,
it's a Shudder exclusive.
Cool.
It was good. I'll tell you, these crazy killer clowns.
Really?
Yeah. When they take their clown masks off, it's even worse underneath. I'm not going to say too much, but
that's cool.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Nice, good acting, believe it or not. You know, I try to shy away. I get a little worried with college kids. Movies that
I can understand that.
Movies that take place with a group of friends from college, but everyone, acted really good, and I actually like the characters, which also is kind of rare.
Cool.
You really need to for me to be into a horror film, I really need to care about the characters. I really wanted these kids to get out.
Really?
I really wanted him to get out. And I liked him. The jock, the frat boy kind of type. He wasn't, just like some douchebag. I mean, it was a good character.
Yeah,
they all were really good.
Being.
Yeah, so I really cared about the characters. The killers were outrageously awesomely sinister and creepy. And it's definitely worth a watch. So Haunt on Shudder. I highly recommend it.
Oh, wow, you're selling me.
What are we going to be talking about today?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned kind of complex characters. We're going to be watching a movie that has pretty in-depth and complex characters in it. It's called Mandy.
Oh, Mandy, yeah. A lot to talk about with this one.
It's written by Panos Cosmatos, also directed by him, and he wrote this with a friend, Aaron Stewart Ahn. Panos started writing this kind of around 2008. He describes it as just a process kind of adding on, and it evolved into what we see on film today. It's cool. It's a companion piece to his first movie. This is his second movie ever made. It's a companion piece, to his first, called Beyond the Black Rainbow.
And honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
I tried.
Yeah, we both
it was
did.
a little too introspective for me. I made it. It's about an hour and 30 minutes. I made it an hour in.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoyed Mandy a heck of a lot more.
Yeah, I agree. He describes the companionship between the two as Beyond the Black Rainbow as kind of an inhale of all the emotions of loss, revenge, sadness. And like Rick mentioned, very introspective. You're watching a lot of introspective thought in characters. So nothing's really going on but kind of your imagination of what the emotions that they're thinking, as opposed to Mandy, it's an exhale of,
and boy,
oh, yeah.
does it exhale.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's cool. It's
Nice little fact. The film was produced by Spectrevision. I love this company.
I
love Elijah Wood.
Yeah, so do I.
I believe it's the main people of that are him and honestly some other guy that I'm not sure who it is.
I listened to a interview with those two done by Last Podcast on the Left, and I can't think of his name either. But
I don't know. But Elijah Wood, huge horror fan,
and that's kind of I don't imagine that to be a thing. I don't know why.
Yeah, little Frodo.
Yeah,
he was
little
Frodo, right?
Yeah, little Frodo.
Yeah, huge horror fan, and he kind of I know he wants to bring a lot of horror back.
Yeah,
and I'm glad we have Spectrevision.
Right.
They did. I forget what year it was now. A few years ago, the Maniac remake.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't he the
He was the
star?
Maniac.
Yeah.
Yeah, and remake of a brutal 70s slasher film. It's pretty brutal to watch.
Really, I've yet to see it.
Again, Tom Savini at his prime, doing his Tom Savini thing. Just gruesome, realistic special effects. And just, you kind of need a shower after you watch that movie.
Really? That's
so yeah, the
interesting.
Elijah Wood remake, really well done. Alexander Aja, I'm not sure if I'm saying that name right. He's a big director in the French extremism front. He did High Tension, things like that. Yeah, the Maniac remake, it's all from the POV of Elijah Wood, the main character.
That's cool.
So when he's chasing the girl, it's like you're chasing the girl and whatnot.
That's cool.
And the only time you see him is reflections. You see him in reflection in a car, in the mirror.
What?
Things like that. So yeah, they're doing some really interesting things at Spectre Vision.
They are. I know that they're doing, like you mentioned, a lot of foreign horror. And even besides that, from the research I've done on Mandy and Panos, he has nothing bad to say about Spectre Vision. He mentions that they protected him and his image of what he wanted Mandy to be. He never felt like he had to compromise on the image that he wanted this movie to be. And that's actually what people kind of praise Panos for having, is he knows what he wanted Mandy to look like, and he knows the story that he wanted to tell, and he knows exactly how he wanted to tell it.
Fun fact, did you know that Elijah Wood was actually the one to hook Nicolas Cage up with the script?
I did.
They were working on a film together, according to Cage. I think it was called An Army of One or something like that. And when Cage originally read the script, he was interested in playing, he obviously wanted to play Red, the main character, but Cosmatos had him in mind for Jeremiah, who we'll get into him. Yeah. But he's kind of the cult leader of the group.
Antagonist of the story.
Cage fought to play the protagonist of Red.
It was cool. It's cool because it's a lot more than just Nicolas Cage wanting to play the hero. He mentions how he felt that he didn't have the emotional context or the life experience to be able to play a good villain as Jeremiah Sand. He felt, on the other hand, that he would be able to portray Red's feelings of loss and revenge a lot better. And lucky for us that it ended up being so.
It is, but it's interesting that Cage would have a hard time playing a lunatic narcissist. It's kind of weird. I don't understand.
Every interview I would watch him in, he seems like a kind of a serious guy, but his Hollywood wardrobe, I loved it. Like chrome gold with leather pants almost at all time.
Like Elvis.
Yeah. I never really thought too hard on Nicolas Cage, and it's funny because I know so many people who hate on Nicolas Cage.
Well, that's the main reason why I shied away from Mandy in the first place. He's just been doing a lot of kind of direct-to-video stuff to pay the bills.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he was in some real... So it was nice to see how I enjoyed him in this very much, and he did a great job.
Oh, yeah. No, I feel like this is one of, if not, for me, I haven't seen all Nicolas Cage films, but probably one of the best performances I've ever seen him at.
It is. It's kind of subdued when it needs to be, and just batshit Nicolas Cage when it needs to be as well. So,
well, I know Nicolas Cage. Not only was it kind of Elijah Wood hooking him up into this movie, but Nicolas Cage was already a huge fan of Panos Cosmatos' first movie, Beyond the Black Rainbow. So I think that really helped grease the wheels in him wanting to be involved in the project.
Well, the film premiered at the 2018 Sundance Film Festival.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then it began a limited theatrical release and was released to video on demand. It's currently available on Shudder.
Mm-hmm.
A little fun fact, Panos Cosmatos, the director, is the son of director George P. Cosmatos. He did a lot of 80s action films. He did Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Cobra, both with Sylvester Stallone, and my favorite Western, Tombstone, with Val Kilmer and Kurt Russell. Mm-hmm. And this film is largely inspired by the grief by Cosmatos dealing with the loss of his father. I'm not exactly sure when he died.
I think it was both parents. I think in at least one of the interviews I watched him in, it was, and that again started with Beyond the Black Rainbow, was just an illustration of loss and the loss that he felt.
And one last fun fact before we get going here, the film has won several awards. The only ones that I noted here are the 2019 Fangoria Chainsaw Awards, which are a thing yearly. I got to get my Fango fix on, you know what I mean? I won Best Actor, Nicolas Cage, of course, Best Director, Panos Cosmatos, Best Makeup Effects, Best Score, it is a good score, pretty hypnotic kind of trance-like almost. And Best Supporting Actor, Linus Roach. So Jackie, are you ready to break this down?
I think I am.
All right, let's get our Mandy on.
All right, let's do this.
So the film opens with a quote, and it's, "When I die, bury me deep, lay 2 speakers at my feet, wrap some headphones around my head, and rock and roll me when I'm dead." Now, did you know that these are the last words of Douglas Roberts, a man in Texas convicted of kidnapping, robbing, and murder?
What year?
He was executed in 2005.
Really? Because I know Panos this is set in 1983. Mm-hmm. So is his other Beyond the Black Rainbow. And that was a big question. Well, what happened to you in 1983? What was so bad about that year? Mm-hmm. And he goes, nothing. It was just another year for me.
Well, it's interesting. He said he started writing it. He wrote Beyond the Black Rainbow and Mandy around at the same time. He wrote them at the same time as each other. And he said he started writing it 10 years ago. So that would have been about 2007.
Yeah.
So the man was executed in 2005. So it inspired him somewhat.
Yeah. It's a funny quote, too, because this movie could be kind of seen as a rock horror opera. And I think Panos even mentions and describes it as a revenge rock opera.
Well, I have a theory on the film as well. I believe it's about Satanism in the music industry.
Okay. Yeah. A
little bit.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
She wears satanic music industry t-shirts throughout the film. And the one thing I picked up on the second watch, Jeremiah, did you get that was his record that he made? So he was he was a recording artist.
Yes, exactly. That's why I totally believe it. It reminds me of Manson and kind of like Satanic Panic of like the 1980s.
The 80s.
Yeah. All right, Rick. I think we're getting onto something here.
I don't know. No, just the thought.
Yeah, that's a totally good point. Both of these characters, Red and Mandy, they live together in kind of the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a life of solitude. There's the 2 of them.
Yeah, but you can tell that they've both had a life before. And I think they're using this but they're using each other as comfort, this solitary life as comfort for kind of healing each other for maybe past...
almost seems like an escape.
Life traumas, yeah.
Like they're trying to escape.
Yeah, Panos creates characters, complex characters.
Well, what he does so effectively in this, he creates an entire world.
Yes.
So much to the point where you don't even know, is this Earth? Is this some type of alternate reality?
Exactly.
Is it a different planet?
A reality like our own, but not exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. So the movie's set up in three acts.
Yes.
With 3 separate title cards. The first one is The Shadow Mountains, 1983 AD.
Give me any film with title cards and little kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of? Kind of like a chapter title.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like chapters.
I love everything about it.
Very novel-like.
Yes.
I love that about Tarantino type
Exactly.
stuff.
I think about that. Wes Anderson.
So Nicolas Cage starts off with kind of a really weird joke. That's his intro to his wife after not seeing her for a very long time. He says, "Knock, knock." She says, "Who's there?" He says, "Eric Estrada." She says, "Eric Estrada who?" And he says, "Eric Estrada from Chips." Kind of weird.
Yeah, it is off-colored. But they also seem like 2 pretty off-colored people. I like all the scenes of intimacy between the 2 because they're very, kind of wholesome.
They are. They don't say much.
Yeah, they don't say much. It's just 2 people who really are enjoying the company of the other. And it just seems very day-to-day things. Nothing out of the ordinary seems to be going on. They're just, it seems like, they often will go to the lake and they often go fishing or enjoy the nature. They often kind of lay together. Or I love when they're watching TV together and they're eating their meal. It totally seems like something they do every night, just as couples do.
So Mandy is reading a book throughout the opening act of the film, and it's called Seeker of the Serpent's Eye by Lenora Torr.
Is this a real book?
I don't think so. I don't know. I didn't quite look it up.
Really?
It seems to be like a dark fantasy book.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
And she's wearing the Motley Crue with the pentagram, the 80s Motley Crue shirt with the pentagram on it. Again.
A comment on Satanism in The music industry?
In the music industry. The Illuminati.
It's real.
It is real.
It is real.
I think so.
I was at a party once. And
I gotta evaluate that Super Bowl last night. I gotta look into it.
Really?
Have you heard about, the Super Bowl and the Illuminati messages and things like that?
No.
Okay.
But I'm sure you'll update me on that.
Oh, yeah.
Is it through commercials?
Commercials, but a lot of time during the halftime show, there's a lot of symbolism. I was on that kick years ago. I haven't watched any videos lately.
Like chaos magic and doing rituals
yes,
in the government.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting into right now.
The Madonna one was huge. It blew my mind. It blew my mind.
So Mandy is walking through the woods, reading her book. Again, another badass band shirt, all in black. Again, a woman near and dear to my own heart. And smoking a cigarette.
A Black Sabbath shirt this time.
Black Sabbath. But the coloring. Oh, this is this is Jeremiah's main goon right here. And his eyes are the ones that really throw me off the most.
Yes, Brother Swan.
Brother Swan.
Brother Swan is driving a van down the dirt road that Mandy is walking down. Probably walking. Looks like she's walking home from work. And Jeremiah is suddenly taken with her. He notices her.
He needs her. He has to have her. I think, what is his name? Linus Roach? I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, but I think he does an amazing job playing Jeremiah.
He does. He's been around for a long time. He played Thomas Wayne in Batman Begins.
That's so funny.
And I knew he's the kind of guy, he looked familiar to me throughout watching this, and I couldn't quite place where he was from, but he's been around forever.
I love how they just ended that first kind of chapter. It stopped. Mandy was almost walking out of the frame, and you see her face as she's staring back at Jeremiah. And what's the new chapter's name?
We begin the second act or chapter, I like to call it, with Children of the New Dawn.
Yeah.
The title card. And I can only imagine that this is the name of their little cult.
Yeah. It is so clear, especially in the little cult, of Jeremiah's favorites and his least favorites. I mean, the person who I think is probably his biggest follower and fan and totally believes anything he's going to say is, what's this woman's name? It's the older woman in the group. They never
give a name for I call her creepy old lady.
Yeah, it's a creepy old lady. And she's creepy because it's just, number one, Jeremiah is totally up his own butt. And it's funny, it's not funny, but it's really interesting because it's not just a bad guy. He has a thought process that you can see through scenes and how it kind of progresses through the film. I know a big thing is the male ego and kind of the horrors of the male ego. And that's what I think Jeremiah and Linus really plays well.
Oh, he does great.
I mean, he's just so full of himself, and it's just he's spewing all these like ridiculous things about the Messiah and how he's the Messiah and it just weird stuff. And it's just he believes it so much. But he's also a human being where he gets kind of offended or you kind of step on his kind of frail ego and he just goes off the walls about it. The weird creepy lady is on her hands and knees like, what can I do for you?
Oh, she would do anything for him.
Anything. And he's like, get away from me.
Well,
you're old news.
He's telling her that he's obsessed with Mandy, who he's seen walking along the dirt path.
Just once.
And he told her that he feels naked without her.
She's clearly Jeremiah does not sugarcoat anything when he's like, no, you're not what I want. He basically calls her stupid for like anything she tries to do to make him happy.
Well, that's the complete narcissism.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting that the men in the cult that he favors more are the older man. Because it totally makes sense. Like, of course I'm going to favor a younger woman. He treats the young boys in the cult like trash because they are dumb.
Well, he actually sacrificed. Did you notice that he sacrifices the fat one?
Yes.
Well, even here he's telling Brother Swan, Jeremiah is telling Swan to go get the girl, that he needs her. And Brother Swan is obviously saying, I'll do anything for you. Jeremiah gives him, it looks like a sort of petrified lava rock.
Oh, yeah.
And whenever they show an artifact of the rock or later on the dagger, there's flashing green lights all around.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't notice this.
But he tells him, you know what to do. And he tells him to offer up the porker as a sacrifice. The fat kid, who actually, he looks like the kid from Bad Santa.
Maybe we should look more into that. Maybe same actor, question mark?
So the creepy old lady visits Mandy at her job, which looks to be working at like a local little gas station general store.
Probably the only general store
type
with
of place.
Like within miles.
And the old lady brings up the book. I'm not sure, but Mandy tells her that they stay down on the Crystal Lake. Now, I don't know if that's a Friday the 13th reference or not. I might be digging too much into that, but...
Really? Isn't Friday the 13th? Is that at Crystal Lake?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah. Camp Crystal Lake.
Come on, that cannot be a coincidence.
Probably not. But the lady says, I'll see you later. Like, real creepy. The lady always has a creepy look on her face. So, Brother Swan and Mullet Head, I call him Mullet Head, because he looks not quite all mentally there, and he has a really terrible homemade kind of mullet going. They're sitting in a van outside Nick Cage's house.
Is this the rock that Jeremiah gave him?
Yes, that is the rock. Looks like petrified lava.
It does. I'd use it to scrub my feet with it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice exfoliation. Yeah. But Brother Swan blows into the rock a few times, and he gets back in the van, and Mullet Head says, now what do we do? And, Brother Swan says, now we wait.
Mm-hmm. Wow, what is this emotional response you think we're getting from Swan? Because right now, we're seeing that the bikers have now arrived.
And Swan is overcome with emotion, tears in his eyes. He worships them. I don't think, it doesn't look like fear.
No, but intense, like reverence almost.
It does look, it's reverence. Mm-hmm.
Oh, how would you describe this motorcycle gang get up?
Okay, these gang, they remind me of the Cenobites from Hellraiser.
Yes.
Pinhead.
Yes.
Chatter, all the rest.
This is, I think, absolutely post-apocalyptic motorcycle crazy gang.
It has a Mad Max feel to it, for sure.
This is a pretty heavy, like, psychedelic gore kind of revenge movie. And so that's, I think, the premise of these bikers. They're kind of off the grid, number one. They're in the middle of nowhere. They're crazy. And it's because they kind of were given
a bad batch.
On purpose, bad batch.
Well, yeah, he gives him a jar of some kind of thick liquid to drink from.
It looks like sludge.
Brother Swan gives it to him. And I think that might be the remnants of the bad batch that they got. I'm not sure. Yeah. But we find out a little further on from a character called Carruthers, played by Bill Duke from Predator. He tells them that they were drug couriers for this chemist, the acid maker, and for some reason he didn't like them, so he made up a crazy batch, and the bikers they've never been the same again. Straight turned them into some demon bikers.
Yeah.
They cut to a great red lit silhouette shot of the demon bikers. Who are there? They're called the Black Skulls. We come to find out they show a silhouette, red lit from behind shot of them standing on top of the mountain overlooking Nicolas Cage's house. And it's a very, very nice long shot.
I like how before it was just red, Nicolas Cage's character, just smoking a cigarette and kind of looking out at the woods. Kind of like trying to see. Yeah,
a sense of foreboding.
Mm-hmm. So we're in Mandy and Red's room, and this strobe light effect is in full effect, but it's all of a sudden, so the Black Skull gang is in their house, along with Brother Swan and the Mouth Breather. So clearly they're here to probably take Mandy. Oh, and you see them both being forced on the ground, and they're just looking at each other.
Paralyzed.
Yes.
No emotion, maybe a little fear.
Fear? I think it's fear.
So the Black Skulls also take the poor Bad Santa looking kid and take him off. That is the sacrifice.
What are your thoughts on the younger girl in this cult?
To me, she seems not 100% on board with it. Almost kind of like a brainwashed victim at this point. Maybe new to the cult.
I'm kind of stuck between brainwashed and also kind of just scared and going along with it to stay alive.
A little bit of that too.
Yeah, a little bit of that, but not totally, because it also seems like she is kind of on, you know what I mean? It's weird. So this is when Mandy is tied up in the kitchen with the young girl in the cult, and the crazy old lady in the cult, and they're about to drug her.
Oh yeah, they drop a nice old drop of acid right in the eyeball.
If someone held me against my will and then gave me an hallucinogen, that is what horror to me is made of.
So after the dropper in the eye, what the creepy old lady refers to as the cherry on top.
Yes.
It's a huge, giant-looking bug of some sort with a huge stinger, and they have it with a pair of tweezers, and they sting Mandy right in the side of the neck with it. And I have no idea what the heck that's supposed to be.
Oh, I think it's even weirder because they keep it in like a jar of Gillette. Like, I don't know how, something to keep it alive.
Yeah, it looks like formaldehyde or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm assuming there's some kind of crazy drug that this bug exudes.
Yeah, the toxins in it.
We get a close-up of Mandy's face, and her pupils are just super dilated, completely black.
Yes, no more blue.
And she's being taken down a hallway, and the effects of the LSD are kicking in.
Yeah, and you can see that through the picture on the screen.
We're getting some nice after effects, some trails.
Yeah.
Some crazy reds and purples and blues.
Trails is because, again, there is no solid line, and it's kind of her body, like everything's bleeding into the next movement. So Jeremiah is now talking to Mandy. Well, he's about to introduce her to his music. And this reminds me of Charlie Manson and how Charlie Manson did the whole music thing and tried to be a famous musician. I will say, however, I didn't think Charlie Manson's music was as bad as this Jeremiah Sands music.
I don't think I've ever heard it.
I mean, it's not gonna you're not gonna oh,
where did you hear...
You can hear it on the internet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember it was like in high school, and I was in this boy's car, and he was like, guess who this is? And I was like, I don't know. He goes, it was Charlie Manson. It was just like, nothing special.
Well, yeah, he was real tight with Brian
the Beach
Williams.
Boys?
Brian Williams.
Yeah. He was...
Jeremiah could very much be based on Manson, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Manson was a turkey in his own right. This is one of my favorite responses that Mandy... I think this is the best response Mandy could have given this whole spiel from Jeremiah. Just I can't imagine. Number one, she's tripping balls. And you're just hearing this guy talk up his own butt. So she responds by laughing menacingly in his face. It really affects him. He kind of freaks out because someone's laughing at him. Someone's questioning what he believes he is the chosen one. And so he responds by screaming at everyone else in the room too. Like, don't you dare look at me. Don't look at me.
Well, he's embarrassed. He offers himself to her basically full frontal.
This nude scene was a plot point. It was a valid plot point.
It is. I'm fine with it. It's very important to the story.
Yeah, like you said, he's putting himself out there. Yeah. Full frontal nude.
And when she laughs at him and mocks him and sends him into a fit of rage, it totally makes sense. It really does.
I think what really throws me off, I don't know if throws me off, but he believes what he's saying.
Oh, yeah.
He believes it 1,000%. And that's, I think, really scary.
Mm-hmm. Another crazy scene in the film is when they have Cage tied up, and Jeremiah tells him that you and that little whore think you know what love is. I'll show you love. And he has Lucy play Russian roulette. Mm-hmm.
And this is the kind of...
she does it.
Yeah, she does it. But this is also a scene where that's when I kind of questioned, why is she there? Kind of what are her motives? Because when she's kind of putting the gun up to her head, it seems like she's hesitant, very hesitant. She's not, you can tell she's not completely blindly facing this like, oh, this is love. I love him so much. She seems afraid.
She's brainwashed.
Yeah.
So Brother Swan pulls out a long kind of dagger blade, and he calls it the tainted blade of the pale night.
Close.
Straight from the abyssal lair. And again, there's flashing green lights around it like there were when he pulled out the lava rock.
Wow. Oh my god, and they stab Red, Nicolas Cage's character. And
He takes a lot of damage.
That's a thing. He takes a lot of damage in this film. And it's a straight revenge. I mean, I won't say just on the first top layer, I would call this a revenge film.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's multi-layered.
Very multi-layered, and that's why it works so well for me. I really didn't know if I was going to like this or not.
I came to work and I was like, you have to watch Mandy.
Like,
I think you're going to like Mandy.
It's a Nicolas Cage movie. They've been crap. This got Cage back in good standing with me. Mm-hmm. Even here where he's tied up with barbed wire, wrapped through his mouth, around his arms, a really great performance. Subdued. Mm-hmm. He's got a nice control. I mean, he does eventually go full Cage.
I love that.
But he's really solid performance. I like one line in particular when Jeremiah is kind of tormenting Red. I'm not going to call him Red. I'm going to call him Cage, Nicolas Cage. Okay. When he's tormenting Nicolas Cage, and he tells him that they wasted the chemist's finest on your whore. Yeah, that's pretty brutal. He also says the cleansing power of fire cannot be reasoned with, while they're dumping gasoline on Nicolas Cage's wife, who is tied up and wrapped in a kind of bag, and they have her hang. Is it a burlap sack? It looks like it, and they have her hanging from a tree. So they're getting ready to light her up, which they do.
Yeah, Brother Swan does, and actually, the line that Brother Swan says is one of my favorites. He goes, "The bigger the whore, the brighter the flame." All while Cage is tied up watching his partner being burned alive.
In front of his eyes.
In front of his freaking eyes.
It's a gut-wrenching scene. You can see it in Cage's performance.
I like how his scream is silent. I don't know. And
that's what I meant about subdued, his performance.
Yeah.
It's very internal until... Well, we'll get to that.
It's not.
But the bathroom scene is kind of where he comes to realization with everything and lets it all out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Someone's holding her up while she's burning alive. And you can see the bag, like this, there's a body in there moving.
And they're all gathered around and they all have this look of just evil glee on their face.
Crazed.
All except for Lucy. Lucy doesn't seem to be quite sure of it. She seems like the newest member of the group. She's not totally into it. I think she's a brainwashed girl.
Really?
I really do.
Yeah.
Now, creepy old lady is she thinks it's the best thing that she's ever seen.
Jeremiah's, I think he's kind of heartbroken by it, in a way, because I think he held a lot to what he felt Mandy owed him, or what they could have.
He believed she called out to him.
Yeah.
And then she totally mocked him.
So I think this is a huge disappointment for him.
She turned him into a joke.
Yeah. They're all leaving after burning her, and they just leave Nicolas Cage
when they
tied up.
When they leave him tied up, it kind of feels like they're leaving a little, like a party. It just feels like they're leaving a party. Oh. They're nonchalantly just kind of leaving a little party at a friend's house.
Is this Mandy and Red's place, or is this one of theirs?
That's
Mandy and Red's place.
They go to their house and do it there. Nicolas Cage appears to be in complete shock. He's in shock at the moment.
Because he's watching them leave.
Why do you think they let him live?
I have no idea.
So the rest of the movie could happen?
Yeah, but I also think I just don't think they feel like he's a contender. He's anyone that they need to worry about.
Yeah, Jeremiah calls him a pig, says he has no soul, he's just a piece of meat.
This is what gets me with his Red's hands tied up over his head with the barbed wire, but since the blood makes it really slippery.
It's a bit lubricated.
It's lubricated with his own blood. I can't.
Cage manages to escape his bindings.
While being cross-eyed the entire time.
You can imagine the pain that having barbed wire wrapped around you would be. It would just be unbearable.
What do you think about Nicolas Cage's hair in this movie?
I think he has a heck of a hairpiece. I really don't know. Did you ever see online the photo of Nicolas Cage with like a bird on his head It's like his hairpiece.
No.
So Nicolas Cage gets free, and he's basically grieving over his wife's ashes, and she's gone.
Yeah, very kind of loose form of what's left.
And it blows away in the wind.
The wind. Oh, God, the imagery.
And great performance by Cage again. I can't say that enough. I really like him in this.
Do you know that during filming, before it kind of began, Nicolas Cage and Linus Roach were like, hey, should we get a beer or whatever? And they both agreed, no, I think during filming we should stay completely separate from one another.
You hear about that a lot from people who play like villains and things. I think
it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Not to get confused with like if you have nice feelings toward this person and on camera you have to act a completely certain way.
Well, did you hear what Jared Leto did when he played Joker in that piece of crap Suicide Squad movie?
What did he do?
He like tormented the cast members. He sent like dead.
Excuse me?
He mailed them dead animals and things in the mail. Yeah, they weren't too happy. Evidently he's like straight method, so he got into it and did all that. Yeah, they weren't too happy about it.
I wouldn't. Isn't he starting his own cult right now, Jared Leto?
Is he?
I heard
it's I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah.
Oh, he would have been a good Jeremiah.
I do like Jared Leto. I do think he's...
Yeah. So when Nicolas Cage goes back into his house after his wife's murder, there is a commercial playing on TV, and it's a mac and cheese commercial for a cheddar goblin mac and cheese, and I'm pretty sure that was just made for the film. I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of that either. I was wondering that.
Cheddar Goblin.
Cheddar Goblin.
And I think the 80s show that they're watching was made, I could be wrong, but it looks like it was just made for this film as well.
No, that would make more sense. Give me a film with animation, little shorts in it.
Yes, whenever Cage dreams or has visions of his wife, they're all animated, and they're pretty wild. The first one, she's kind of turns around and she's a rotting corpse decaying right in front of his eyes.
Yeah, no eyes. Instead of eyes, it looks like a static screen. Fabulous. Okay, this is, I believe, kind of this scene after he wakes up from this dream. He's going into the bathroom, and I think this is the beginning of revenge rampage almost.
Yeah, Cage goes into the bathroom, and it's almost like everything that just happened finally hits him, and he grabs a bottle of vodka and chugs it, and it looks painful. He's trying to get it down. You know, if you ever chugged vodka before, I've heard from people before that it's quite painful. It can burn. It can burn a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say who told me that, but it looks painful. He is trying to get it down. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually vodka that he is consuming at the moment.
I would be surprised, Rick.
Really?
Look at how much he chugs.
It's Nick Cage.
It's Nick Cage, who's also in a human body. Okay, again, you're totally right. It doesn't, look, you can tell he's like bracing his body every time he swallows the substance.
It could be acting, but it probably is. I'm just saying I could see.
The human being cannot consume this much alcohol in this little time.
But he lets out just all that pain and agony and shrieks. This is his almost coming to acceptance of what just happened.
I think it's super haunting how Mandy's nightgown is just, the bathroom looks like how they left it.
It works. It's a great Cage over the top scene, but sometimes I'm sure you've seen the clips on YouTube and all that. Sometimes they can be a little ridiculous, but that one is really, it works. So Nick Cage goes to see Carruthers. It's played by Bill Duke, as I said before, from Predator and a bunch of other stuff. He says, I've come for the Reaper. And apparently the Reaper is a badass crossbow.
Mm-hmm.
And Carruthers, asks him what he wants it for, and Cage says he's going hunting.
Well, he even says before he goes, it's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why Carruthers has it in the first place.
That's what I'm saying. These are little moments where you realize that I don't believe Nicolas Cage's life was always as peaceful as what we were shown with him and Mandy.
Was he trying to get away from it with with Mandy?
I think not away, but healing. Yeah, I think so. I really do.
Because why would Carruthers have the Reaper?
Not just the Reaper, but then proceeds to tell Cage, look up top on the right there.
Yeah.
He crafts, he says he's crafted these arrows that will split through bone and flesh like a fat kid eat through cake.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what I mean? And so he asks, so what do can I ask, what are you going to do with this? And Nicolas Cage goes, I'm going to go hunting. He goes, oh, what are you hunting for? And then Cage kind of breaks down, and this is when he mentions, I don't know.
He says, yeah, I'm going for Jesus freaks.
They were Jesus freaks.
And Carruthers says, I didn't know they were in season.
Yeah, he does. Nicolas Cage's character kind of swallowing. He mentions how he doesn't understand. It didn't really make sense. There was muscle there that was separate, and they were just these crazy, crazy guys. And as he's explaining to him, his friend, what the bikers were like, and his friend's like, oh, well, those are what are they called?
The Black Skulls.
Yeah, the Black Skulls. They're around the area, and he tells Cage of the story that we mentioned earlier, that they were possible drug runners for this LSD guy, and they went crazy after one bad batch.
And there were rumors of murdered truckers and prostitutes and things. He says he saw them one time, and they just looked batshit crazy.
Oh.
No, he said they looked like they were in pain, and the crazy thing is, they freaking enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So now that Cage has his Reaper, it's time to make another weapon. He forges, that I believe that's what it's called, when you make something out of steel. Mm-hmm. He melts steel and forges, it looks like the Grim Reaper's kind of, what are they called?
A
Scythe? I don't know, but I've heard someone refer to it as a battle axe. It's like this big, silver, crazy battle axe that he makes himself, and I love that he kind of forged it himself. It reminds me of an old, kind of Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, yeah.
An old fantasy flick.
This is a really cool weapon. It was actually, one of the original designs was from a friend of Panos's. His name was Jeffrey Hallidays. I don't know if I'm saying this wrong. But he was originally part of the original design process. But it's really cool because the weapon itself is, okay, so they refer to it, Panos refers to it, he calls it the Beast. And it's based on the design of the letter F in the band, the Celtic Frost band logo. This is a quote from Panos. He says, I wanted it to feel almost like a manifestation of Red's insanity. Instead of just a weapon, it was like a crystallized object of his grief.
So Cage, we're into the third act. We see the Mandy title card, which is interesting because it's almost like the title of the movie is shown about an hour into it. I like that. So Cage has, he's taken Carruthers' advice, and he has found the bikers cruising along the road, and he shoots one of their tires out, tries to run him over, but it doesn't work too well. He actually ends up flipping the truck, and then he's basically captured by the Black Skulls.
But I think he's okay with flipping the car, and as long as, if it's okay if we both go, as long as I take you down with me type of thinking.
He essentially almost has superhuman powers at this point.
Yeah.
Because no matter what happens to him, all the damage he takes, he's not affected by it. He doesn't die. He gets quite a bit of damage. I mean, even before this, he has a very substantial knife wound to his abdomen. But he's captured now, like Rick mentioned. He's tied up in, looks like just a really gross basement area. It's on what are those called? The radiator? Yeah, radiator. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's tied up to the radiator by a pipe. And I like when Nicolas Cage breaks the pipe and hits the biker over the head with it. Right before he says to the biker, "You are a vicious snowflake." Yeah. I have no idea what that means. I don't really know what it means either, but I think it was kind of to poke fun. So he kind of plays to his captor a little bit. And I think, why do you think they kept him alive still again? Maybe they're getting off on the torture of him. His captor takes a knife and he slices him on the chest. And Nicolas Cage responds by, "You cut my shirt! You cut my shirt!"
And then he, proceeds to slash. But he gets this, I freaking forget which movie, but he kind of he gets inspiration from kind of another movie. And I guess where he's looking around for possible other, like the other captors or the other bike gang members that could be in this house. And we kind of realize that these bikers have probably been squatting at some poor victim's home that we see.
Yeah, we see, and it doesn't look like it ended too well for the guy.
No.
He got it in the end.
That's a good one.
Well, it's the reason why I say that. Well, when Nicolas Cage stumbles on one of the Black Skulls in the living room watching vintage 80s porn,
mm-hmm.
and it's kind of dark. The lighting is really dark, but does it get an erection?
Oh my god, I did not realize that. Oh my gosh.
He gets an erection and it's like a sharp metal. It looks just like a sharp metal object. And when he has Cage on the ground, that's what he's trying to stab him with.
I did not realize this.
Yes, he's trying to stab him, with his prick.
While also doing copious amounts of cocaine.
Coke or meth, yeah.
Whatever.
He's just snorting
some white powder.
So Nicolas Cage cuts the biker's throat, and the blood just spurts out, and it gushes out and hits Cage in the face, and he just has this giddy little kid smile on his face. Open mouth. His teeth are all red. It's a pretty disturbing shot.
Like full mouth filled with blood. And this is kind of a more ridiculous point when Cage, after beating these guys, takes a little bit of that unknown white powder substance and just a huge scoop with broken glass straight up his little nostril.
Well, another kind of weird thing, he's kind of searching the house, and he stumbles upon a jar of the liquid, and he drinks it. And he gets, it hits him immediately, whatever it is, the effect hits him immediately, and I wonder if it makes him kind of, Black Skull kind of makes him a little more...
I agree.
Not the same as he used to be.
Oh, I completely agree. He's losing a lot of the stable parts of his psyche through this process.
Yeah, it is a cleansing. He almost has to go insane to cleanse himself.
I agree. He's preparing himself for what he has, like the rest of this journey of revenge that he has to do. Because you can't go back to a normal life after avenging your dead wife.
So Nicolas Cage stumbles upon the final biker, just having a leisurely evening at a burning car in the backyard,
enjoying a nice
hanging out.
Bonfire.
Shoots him in the neck with an arrow.
Oh!
Biker pulls it out nonchalantly, and they have themselves a little duel, a little fight with the scythe or the battle axe.
I don't know anyone who can get shot in the throat with an arrow and then just pull it out and continue to stand and then fight someone. And this is the first time we see Nicolas Cage wield the weapon that he made.
And it's a great kill with the weapon. He ends up pushing the biker into the car, setting him on fire, and then cutting off his head while on fire. And then he proceeds to light his cigarette on it.
I absolutely love how the blood is... it looks like he has a blood mask on.
It's
for the rest of the movie,
It's dark. It looks like it's caked on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's been drying a little bit. There's multiple layers from different victims. So Cage has managed to escape from the biker's house. He's managed to kill them all, and he's jumped on their four-wheeler, and he's heading somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, he kind of has the idea from his friend who gave him the heads up. So we see the chemist making a blotter sheet with LSD, but it's pretty intense because he's all up in it.
Well, yeah, you would think it would be seeping in through his pores. He licks his fingers at one point, but it's got to be getting in. He seems to have some telepathy.
Yeah.
He's got some mind powers. He turns off the cassette tape by pointing at it. Kind of like he kind of has the Force, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Turns off the cassette tape. When he turns around, all the lights above Cage's head go on one at a time. He's definitely on another plane.
How would you explain the tiger?
Well, the tiger's name is Lizzie, and he says, when she's calm, I know it's good. So he tests out the LSD on the tiger.
Oh, that's so messed up.
The chemist, he can tell that Cage is looking for someone, and he knows darn well who he's looking for. I think he calls them the children.
And what about the Children of Dawn? That's what they were referred to as earlier, right?
You are absolutely right.
Yeah.
The children of the New Dawn.
Yeah, the Children of the New Dawn.
And he just says north. And, well, now, darn it, Cage knows exactly where they are.
Yeah. He's gotten up north.
So Nicolas Cage has found the temple of the Children of the New Dawn. And it looks like it's actually being constructed at the moment. Like, it hasn't been there very long.
Yeah,
Fresh wood, a lot of wood around. This is a new thing.
But Nicolas Cage has just now put out a trap for, I don't know, whomever he finds from this cult. And it turns out to be Brother Swan and, what is Emma? Is that
Lucy.
her name? Lucy.
Brother Swan and Lucy. Brother Swan says something kind of disturbing to him. When Cage kind of throws him down on the ground, and Brother Swan says, "She burned brightly, Mandy."
Oh.
Still talking about the burning.
Yeah.
Still talking about the burning.
So Nicolas Cage responds by taking the Beast, his chrome super knife battle axe, and taking the
spear end of it.
Yeah, the spear end, and just shoving it into Brother Swan's mouth, and just blood.
It goes in far, pretty much all the way. You can see it go right down his throat.
Yeah.
A lot of blood spewing out of his mouth.
He leaves Lucy. I think she's more than just a brainwashed character. These are kind of moments where I feel like she's just a confused girl.
Is that why you think
Trapped.
Is that why he lets her live?
I think so. I mean, I think he saw it when Jeremiah made her play Russian roulette.
Oh, that could have been why.
Yeah.
The Russian roulette scene, because I kind of thought he was going to turn around and like just cut her head off in one swoop.
Really?
Kind of. She was there. She was part of it. But you're right. The Russian roulette scene, he sees her as a victim as well of Jeremiah.
I mean, even that scene, she was on... Jeremiah goes, "Get on your knees.
Show me you love me."
Yeah, show me you love me. Get on your knees. So she's on her knees in front of Nicolas Cage while he's also being tied up and like forced to watch his wife. I don't know. I think he sees her as just a girl who hasn't really... is just there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And she responds by just crying.
So Nicolas Cage has come across kind of, would you say, a decent sized chainsaw? It's not super big, but he comes upon a man. They never say this guy's name. He was in the van. He was there. He was the one holding the rope when they torched Cage's wife. But he pulls out this chainsaw that's about a yard. I don't know. How many feet would you say that
6
chainsaw?
feet tall.
6 feet, do you think? Yeah, it's huge.
I mean, the guy who's wielding it looks like a very tall man.
It's obscenely long.
It seems to me too long, like so long that this is going to hold him back more than help him.
Well, it does. It allows Cage to kind of get in and give him a slice in the ribs.
When was the last time you've seen a good chainsaw fight? Chainsaw.
I think it was Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. Yeah, Dennis Hopper fights Leatherface. So during the fight, Cage knocks the huge chainsaw out of the big guy's hand. The chainsaw is still on, laying on the ground. And well, do you remember how he gets rid of this guy? He grabs it. He grabs a chain, swings it over his head, wraps it around the guy's neck, and pulls him down straight on top of the huge ass chainsaw, spilling his guts all over the entire ground. Yeah,
there's a bit of splatter in this movie, I'd say.
So Cage has reached the temple.
And see, the temple, this shot shows the top of the temple, and there's a cross. And so that's kind of iconography
it's
that
Christian
makes me,
symbolism.
That makes me kind of, like, what specifically does this cult believe, other than Jeremiah's hand?
It's got to be some kind of twisted take on it, though.
Ain't it always?
And they never get into it. In fact, there was an altar in the temple, and Cage picks it up. There's a book on it, but you never really catch a glimpse of what's in the book.
Yeah.
But he takes a look at it, and he puts it back. Then he makes his way through a hole and underground. So he comes across the creepy old lady.
I don't like this woman.
Who's there, and basically, she just immediately starts offering him sex. She says, Jeremiah says, "I am the most sensual lover," because of her sensitivity and her empathy.
Well, I will tell you right now, she didn't seem too sympathetic or empathetic when she was dealing with Mandy earlier on in this movie. No, she
didn't, especially when she was burning.
Yeah. It makes me kind of think about how she got involved with Jeremiah and what she maybe meant to him earlier on in their relationship.
It's almost like there could be like a comic book series of each character and how they kind of got involved. Like you could have Lucy's story, you could have Swan's. Like, who are these people? They're very different types of people. That's
what I'm saying. These are not just one-dimensional characters. Like, exactly. How did they get here? What is making them do the things that they're doing now? What past experiences have led them to make the decisions and have the belief system and led them where they are now?
I believe Jeremiah holds a really big power over them, and the constant drugging of the LSD, the mind-altering LSD,
for sure.
has a lot to do with it. So Nicolas Cage has finally come to the end of his quest. He is face to face with Jeremiah.
And we see Jeremiah as we see him kind of feeling up this dungeon room wall.
He's rubbing it. He's caressing it.
Yeah. Only in his undies, I will also mention.
Tidy whities.
Tidy whities,
They're tidy whities.
But he feels...
he already went full frontal, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, what are tidy whities I can handle?
Exactly. But he feels something on the back of his leg, and it was the old woman's severed head that Cage just bowled in like a bowling ball.
Oh, yeah. We don't see what actually happens to her. It kind of cuts away, and he just kind of rolls the creepy old lady's head. Mm-hmm. It's funny when Cage enters the room, Jeremiah turns around and just kind of casually says, "Oh, hi."
No, I know.
And Cage actually responds with an interesting line. He says, "Psychotic drowns where the mystic swims. You're drowning, I'm swimming." Now, what the heck does that mean?
That's kind of where Cage's mind is right now, and I think that's where Jeremiah's mind was in the beginning and is now, too. I think it's like crazy talking to crazy.
Interesting. He does kind of say, Cage says, he crushes Jeremiah's skull, his eyeballs pop out, and he crushes him, but he says, "I am your God now." That's what Cage says.
Oh, I love it.
He's kind of went full circle.
I love it because, look at Jeremiah. He goes through bargaining anything and everything he can in order to not die. Doesn't he go he offers to suck Nicolas Cage's...
blow him.
Blow him, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'll do anything. And then he gets angry.
Yeah, he actually says, "No.
Yeah.
No, I don't kneel before you. You kneel before me."
Yeah. Again, just deluded.
And then Cage, "I'm your God now," and just crushes his skull.
So there is a moment for Nicolas Cage. He kind of is looking up and he's breathing, and there's a lot, I feel, of emotion that goes into, I have lost everything, and so all I have left is my revenge. And so I think there's a moment, what's next?
Well, there seems to be some catharsis.
Yeah, not what next. Yeah.
To Cage after completing it's a definite quest. He's on a quest, and he completes his quest. There is a catharsis for the character. He seems still totally nuts, but there is a catharsis.
He responds by, and I think I relate to this as well. Why not just burn it all to the ground? Just wipe it off, But it's funny because in production, this entire wall and set is just in flames, but they say that it actually they were close to burning down an historic mark, an historical place, because of this scene. This scene was a close call to actual fire issues.
Yeah, Cage said he was actually just walking real slow through it, and everyone else was running and screaming and telling them to call the fire department.
Yeah. Cage said he felt really peaceful.
Yes, he feels peaceful in times when people wouldn't.
Yeah. I love a good burning after,
It's a cleansing.
Yeah.
Like they said, what they said about Mandy when they burn her.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of retribution, kind of what goes around comes around. What do you think he's going to do now? Do you have any idea?
No.
Is he going to be okay? Because
No.
I don't know. Has he lost it completely?
Well, that's my point. Like, how can you feel these such intense emotions of loss, and then these intense emotions of going against this loss through full-blown, unhinged psycho revenge? What happens when it's over? That's what I'm saying.
See, I feel like he's going to a place where he's never going to come back from.
That's what, yeah.
And it all started when he drank, well, not all started, but drinking that jar probably didn't help very much.
Oh, I think it started when he was in the bathroom and he was guzzling down the vodka. I think that was like, all right, it's berserker mode.
Yeah, it's kind of like a complete transformation. And when he finally brings Jeremiah down, the transformation's complete.
I don't know if I would describe it as sad, but he's driving home or wherever his next stop is from defeating the Children of the New Dawn, and he sees his wife, and we see him completely normal, like as if they were driving together in a normal day, and then it also pans to what he actually looks like, just covered in blood after a huge massacre. Huge open eyes, a crazed smile on his face.
I call them cage eyes.
Cage eyes. Yeah.
But he drives off.
Yeah.
Into the sunset, and in the sky we see a planet with moons. I mean, it leads me. Do we know what reality is this world in? They never say. Doesn't appear to be. I don't know. No,
I agree. This is okay. Well, what is clear is it's not our world. It's not what we know. But everything that we've seen, other than this strange, I think this is the first full, like, straightforward evidence that this is an alternate reality.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Because everything else in the movie, it just seems a little off, but we don't have actual evidence of like, oh crap, that's not our sky.
So, Mandy, I think it's just a beautifully constructed film from beginning to end. I love the format, the 3-act format, the intro, the conflict when they, they burn her, and then the 3rd act when he just goes batshit crazy. And it's a beautiful film. It's disturbing, but it's actually not as disturbing as I thought it was going to be. It's I see it as a dark fantasy.
Yeah.
And it's definitely like a fantasy film. I do call it a horror film, for sure. I do call it a horror. But yeah, it's just a really nice, a dark fantasy quest. Mm-hmm. And it's disgustingly beautiful.
I love that. Yeah, you're right. It's because that's the thing about horror movies. There's so many different types and kinds, and I would say a dark fantasy horror, a psychedelic horror. I completely agree. This is Panos Cosmatos. Oh, he has a vision, and it's awesome. I know he has just beautifully done. I agree. Just really beautifully done. You can tell that he's an artist, and the medium he's chosen is movies and directing and writing. He made this movie because he had a story to tell. And this was a really, really cool story.
Yeah, he had a definite vision, and the vision definitely comes out. So would you recommend people to go check it out?
Oh, absolutely. I think this is one of the better horror, very unique. One of the better and one of the more unique horror stories that I've seen. Totally deeper than a one-dimensional film and story. I think everyone should see it.
Yeah, so definitely check it out. Now playing on Shudder.
Yeah.
And well, that's about all I have. Jackie, it's been great.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me, Rick.
Going on this little trip with you.
Yeah, I know.
And you guys take it easy out there, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, have a good one, guys, and thanks for listening.